The following are two very unusual stories that could be seen as time slips or residual hauntings, or maybe just another case of a glitch in the matrix. The Man in Black. In May 1892, Miss Mary Scott was walking along a country road in Roxburghshire in the southern uplands of Scotland. She suddenly came upon a tall man dressed in black a few yards in front of her. He turned a corner of the road and then vanished. It just so happens that a sister had been coming home from the opposite direction and had also witnessed seeing the man, who, judging by his attire, must have been a clergyman, and he was coming towards her. Her sister claimed to have looked away for a split second, and when she turned her head back, the man had simply vanished. She then looked around to see where he could have gone, but there was nothing but the road they were on and open fields. There was nowhere for him to go. When the sisters discussed the incident, it seemed that they had not seen the man at exactly the same moment or in exactly the same place, but agreed that he had vanished virtually in front of them. But that was not the last they would see of the darkly dressed man, when the following July, Mary Scott was walking with another sister, Louise, and when they reached the same location that Mary had previously seen the man almost a year ago, there he was. He was dressed in black with a long coat, gaiters, knee breeches and a wide white cravat and low-crowned hat. Her sister saw the upper part of the figure that seemed to fade away into the bank by the side of the road. The following year in June, Mary Scott again saw a figure in the distance and realised it was the same apparition she had previously seen. This time she tried to get closer in an attempt to overtake it, but the figure seemed to float away. However, this time he suddenly stopped, turned around to face her, and then turned back and took a few more steps. It again turned around and looked back and suddenly faded from view. On this occasion, Mary Scott was able to give a better description of the figure and claimed that the clothes he was wearing looked like a Scottish clergyman from a century earlier. In the spring of 1894, a Miss Irvine was returning home along the same road at about 4:14 p.m. and saw this apparition. It looked like a tall old man dressed in a long black coat with a cape that came down to a little below his shoulders. His hat was low-crowned, with the brim slouched over his eyes. Miss Irvine just stared at the man as he walked backwards and forwards between the turn of the road and a pile of stones. She continued watching as he repeated the movement 6 more times, stopped as if he was speaking to a man who was cutting the hedge at the time. What confused Miss Irvine was that the man who was cutting the hedge did not look around and seemed to be unaware of the other man's presence. As she walked closer and was about to pass him, he vanished into thin air. Yet the man had been only about 3 yards away from her. In the spring of 1897, Mary Scott again saw the man's apparition while she was walking with one of her sisters along the same road. As she grew closer, she observed the man's profile between her and the hedge, but she could not hear his footsteps. Yet her sister saw nothing, but later mentioned to Mary that she appeared to be staring into space. The man continued walking as though in meditation. She saw the man 2 more times after that, and the last occasion was on the 16th of August 1900. On that occasion, the apparition had its back to a man with a pony and trap who was cutting the grass by the roadside. The man was within a few feet of where she saw the apparition appear. She then questioned the man, who claimed that he saw no such person there. So, was this man in black a ghost, a time slip, or a residual haunting? When the man looked back at her, did he actually see her, or was he reliving a past event? Both the hedge cutter and the man with the pony appeared not to notice the man. On one occasion, Mary's sister did not notice the man, but could see her sister staring into space at something. So why did Mary Scott mostly see the man whilst other people, including her sister, not? Was she somehow attuned to the conditions? This was a very unusual haunting. The coach. A woman in South Wales described the following incident in 1982, where she observed a coach, or an omnibus, from around the turn of the 20th century. It was a double-decker bus with an open top. It was full of people in Edwardian costume. Women in summer blouses and dresses, and large hats adorned with plumes. Some of the men were dressed in dark clothes, and others in light jackets with straw hats. Unfortunately, the woman could not hear what they were saying as she was too far away, but she was able to see people laughing and happy and having a good time. The coach did not pass her, but disappeared before she came close to him. But this was not the first time that the woman had experienced such an unusual incident. 2 years previously, in June 1980, she was in the exact same location on a warm sunny day, and the apparition was the same on 2 alternate Saturdays at exactly the same time and place. She remembered the front seat top deck where a young couple was smiling and were obviously enjoying each other's company. The woman said that she did not mention the incident to her family the first time it happened in 1980, but did discuss it with her father on the second occasion in 1982. Her father informed her that when he was a boy, the chapel above Hollywood Village, just below the town of Tredegar, had Saturday outings in the summer, as did all the valley chapels at this time. People would board the coaches and go for a picnic outing to some pleasant location if the weather was pleasant. The description of what her father had talked about as a boy would have been around the turn of the century during the summer weekends at that period. The woman was describing incidents that occurred 3 times over a 2-year period in the exact same place. Research indicates that these may include effects due to seasonal geomagnetic activity, etc., that could result in individual neurobiological responses. Somehow, the woman managed to stand in the same location at the same time of the year and was either caught up in a time slip or because the outings in the village happened at the same time of the year on a regular basis that it left a permanent visual imprint or photo image. The woman may have some unusual sensitive ability that allowed her brain to pick up the images, such as being able to tune in on the images, much like Mary Scott in the previous story, where other people were not able to see them.